An extra mile to cross the line. I kiss my Judas one more time. I die for your sin. Life is simple, life is sweet. The perspective from down on your knees will kill if I'm within. Fortune and fame, torture and shame. Think twice before you speak. Glory and blame, it's all the same. My gain is your defeat. Don't pray for me. I don't need your sympathy. I don't want your God protecting me. Don't pray for me. I don't want your empathy. I don't need your savior saving me. Don't pray for me. I don't care what book you quote. Your poison is my antidote. I don't burn and I don't bleed. Wrap that guilt up deep inside. Religion as an alibi. What more could you need? Fortune and fame, torture and shame. You still don't understand. Glory and blame, it's all the same. Some things go hand in hand. Don't pray for me. I don't need your sympathy. I don't want your God protecting me. Don't pray for me. I don't want your empathy. I don't need your savior saving me. Don't pray for me. Sacrifice the innocence when you eliminate the decadence. You celebrate the enemy who blind your eyes and steal your dreams. Don't pray for me. I don't need your sympathy. I don't want your God protecting me. Don't pray for me. I don't want your empathy. I don't need your savior saving me. Don't pray for me.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show, where we investigate all forms of magic, talk about all kinds of things and stuff, talk about the cool book I wrote called Apex Unhinged, talk about all the music I've been making that's been posted on this channel, and we talk about the greatest mysteries of humanity. And this is where you're going to go to get to the very precipice of reality, right? So today, I guess a little bit of a special episode, because it's something that I've talked about and mentioned and explored a little bit on this show without being too direct, because it's like this. On the Free Magic Secrets Show, we give you all kinds of free magic secrets, obviously, but we want to do so in a healthy way that isn't going to hurt people or get them in trouble or etc. And there's absolutely nothing more harmful and misleading and rerouting then this business of the Qliphoth. Now, I talk a lot about the Tree of Life. And, when I introduce people to magic or start talking about magical ascent, all these things, I've gone out of my way to introduce the Tree of Life to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. That's kind of my mission. Every time I do tarot for someone, I explain that I'm using that as a blueprint, and then I get them aware that this thing exists and where it's coming from. And I don't go too deep into it, but I give them their first introduction. So, not a single one of these people ever think to ask or think of the most obvious thing. For instance, if something is holy, there's a way to make it unholy. There's a way to invert it. Like holy water, there's unholy water, right? You take a cross, turn it upside down, it's unholy. You take a pentagram, you turn it upside down, it's the demonic symbol, right? There's a way to invert anything. So that's the key thing to never forget. If something's holy, it can be turned unholy, right? If you're going to think about things in that sense, right? Because I don't believe in holy and unholy, right? That's just this fictional framework that we have grafted upon the world as humanity in general. And to believe in holy versus unholy is such low vibrational level kindergarten stuff, way down here, man, way down here. Because see, the only way to really evolve here, as I've said a million times, is recognize everything as one vast gray interconnected area. It's one big blob. Everything is hooked together. It all corresponds, right? And this obsession with labeling things of the light, of the dark, it's counterproductive. I mean, it's important at the beginning because it helps you figure out this or that, this or that, this or this or that. But I'm here to just talk about how, say, for instance, everybody into black magic, left-hand path, they're constantly talking about harnessing the black flame, right? Turning to the dark side in order to harness the black flame. The light of the darkness, right? And that's what like Lucifer represents as a figure and all that stuff. This figure that shows you the light of the darkness. Well, Dr. Zeero is the absolute reverse. I show you the darkness of the light, you see. And the darkness of the light is realizing some very crucial things. Because like I've talked about a few videos ago, becoming the future, staying in a future mindset. Where, it can be a lonesome existence that segregates you from the rest of the population mentally, spiritually, energetically, all the things you could say. But once you evolve past where most people are, you enter a whole new paradigm, whole new dimensions. And, you realize you got to start thinking of yourself as you are a mindset that will exist in the future more readily. You're just so far ahead of the curve that it just blast to bits that which is. So not to sound like a uptight, pretentious, smarty pants guy, but where I have gone with magic, me personally, I've obliterated all these old concepts, these old ways of thinking. Where, you think of everything as a yin and yang, the darkness and the light, and this, the infernal divine versus the divine, or whatever like all this stuff, right? Because I'm at the point where I truly believe that, in my younger days, I loved the idea of, a statue of Hecate or something, and having a little ritual to Hecate. Like, it's cool. Like, you're able to put into a distinct form all kinds of aspects of the mysteries of the universe and all kinds of atmospheric everything. You're able to harness it and hone it. And Hecate is just a symbol for a larger amount of things, just like as so many of these pagan gods, right? And I always thought they were like cool. Like, I don't got a problem with them as mythological figures. I like them as mythological figures. But when you start ending up in these devotional sort of things, like, I just firmly must concretely say that none of these pagan gods, none of these infernals, none of this shit, none of these people, none of them are real, okay? And to completely get yourself involved with them and wrapped up with them. It's just a bag of bricks that you're carrying around. And my whole point is that it's a crutch to a degree, because you have to take all these different elements of the universe in order to put them in a symbol, in order to focus your concentration on all that that symbol represents to you. And again, it's fine but I feel like those are like beginner steps. I'm at the point where, I love the idea of Hecate or like all kinds of other gods and stuff. And I understand why people are doing what they're doing, but they're playthings, dude. They're toys. What's important is you. It's like all those, you're using an outward target, bullseye, outward bullseye to aim everything at in order to concentrate on it. You just need to stop doing that and assume it and realize you are it. The outside forces you try to draw to you are also inward forces. There's a reflection. It's about the inner plane. So what I'm trying to tell you, once again, larger thing I'm trying to say here is that the light is just as terrifying as the darkness. It's just you can see in the light, so therefore it fools you. But, it's just as freakish. And the thing with that, what I'm trying to say is that I'm like a heretic. Like, okay, a heretic to all kinds of ideas because I've deconstructed their ideas and reformatted them. And the larger thing I'm trying to say is that there's a Qliphotic tree, you could say, right? The tree of darkness, whatever, the tree of death. And then there's the tree of life. And people think that the tree of death represents a pathway to self-godhood, right? That's the ultimate thing. They think that it's, you control the dark, you control yourself. Well, you control yourself as well when you go up the other side of the tree. And here's the difference between Dr. Zeero and all the other people pushing the tree of life or talking about it. Classically, in, rabbinical literature, the Jewish idea is that it's about assent and assimilation. Willing, welcome assimilation to whatever created us all. And then, so the reverse idea, obviously, is that to exist forever, you'd want to go the other direction, right? And supposedly get self-godhood. My point is that I feel whatever created the universe, by us having the ability of free will and intelligence, I think that the propulsion is not to bow down before it and assimilate to it. But if a creator gave you your own free will and intelligence, it would want you to be like it. I feel like the natural holy thing is becoming your own God. I don't see it as like this dark, malevolent thing that you have to hack off all these tendrils and everything is like segmented into dark and light hemispheres. Like whatever created the universe gave us intelligence and free will, so therefore we're supposed to be using it to the highest of our abilities. And you are a microcosm of the macrocosm. So it makes complete sense that, like, essentially what becoming your own master, becoming a god within the universe construct itself, is the most holy aspiration. And not only becoming your own like self-deity, but you also align with the creator and all of the energy and everything is coming from the root of existence as well. And part of that is also acknowledging that there is the dark side, the dark energy, the shadow, of creation. Because for something to be holy, something has to be unholy, right? And we're talking about the larger moral responsibility lessons from which all this springs in Judaism. Where what Satan is, right? Ha-Satan, it's a department created by Yahweh, right? That is like a built-in thing inside of us that says, it's the thing that tests us and propels us to go in the direction of inhumanity or incorrect action. And that is inhumanity, that which is cruel and inhumane, almost always. And it's called the propulsion to Yetzer Hara, right? The evil inclination. And Satan itself is just a code word for that instinct inside of us, that intuition that says this is the other direction that leads to self-harm, so, and again, the whole idea of Judaism here is that Satan is actually a department. It's just a mantle that is run by Archangel Samael. And in the Jewish view of mysticism, angels are like machines. They're like machines of energy that have been instructed by the creation or the creator in the unfolding creation to have their specific placement in the overall scheme of how everything works. So it's a mythological representation of a deeply ingrained intuitive thing. And of course, as you go on in time, religions warp this and until the point where there's a war in heaven and there's an angel who formed hell, and then you build on that with another cult, and then you build on that with another cult and another cult and another cult, until there's so many deviations of the Christian cult that, you lose track. So what I'm getting at here is that there's no, first, the Qliphoth there's no definitive Jewish document that fully explores it because it was a banned practice. If there's some, quiet group of rabbis who may have a secret manuscript hidden away somewhere and only a few dozen people know about it, and it's all about the Qliphoth and how that works, possibly somewhere that could be, but it's never been fully explored. And the sources that come close enough to being explored, and also the Zohar, where this idea really starts to originate. And again, the Zohar is like fan fiction, but let's put it in perspective. If there is a tree of life, there would be a shadow to it. So, we're adding to the ideas. It's growing. And it's true. But you have to understand that, like I said, it was a banned practice because they don't look at the tree of death as a blueprint map to self-godhood. They look at it as the sewers. They look at it as crawling through the sewers of filth and slime and ignorance and insanity and madness and self-harm and cruelty and inhumanity and every awful thing you could think that the worst denizens of death row have ever done. It's just climbing through a sewer to the point where you reach the other end and there's nothing left, and you've completely sold yourself to the inclination of Yetzer Hara, the inclination of inhumanity. And that's a pathway of becoming your own God in the most asshole sense possible. But again, it's like you have to know that all that exists in order to rebel against it. You have to know how the tree of death works in order to understand the full capabilities of yourself and how dark things can go. The point is not to dwell there. The point is to see the map and framework of where things could go, understanding the levels which things can sink. But again, it's a tale of morality. So this leads to the second part of this video of where I'm going, because I woke up the other day after a nap, and everything in me, just like every time that I wake up like this, it says, go to the bookstore because exactly what you're looking for and you don't even know what it is going to be sitting there used for like $10. Over and over and over, I get that spidey sense tingle, right? And I'm like, oh, Peter Parker, got to go run off to the bookstore. And every single time, it's always something extremely rare that I've always been searching for. So long story short, I found a copy of Tree of Qliphoth by Azimuth Mason from the Temple of Ascending Flame. And if you don't know, the secret's out. All you got to do is Google YouTube search and you'll find stuff. Not that I would want to promote this book or tell people or put it in anybody's hands, but I got to talk about it because it's a classic, famous manual of the Qliphoth, the Tree of Death. And the Temple of Ascending Flame is, they're not like the Order of the Golden Dawn where you join a lodge and there's all this rigid hierarchy system and etc. They're basically a decentralized, autonomous collective of people all involved in expression and traveling and journeying the Tree of Qliphoth, right? So this book is important. It came out in 2016. It's been out there for some time, and it's got a ton of people. Got a lot of, when these young kids who don't know anything about the Qliphoth and about this stuff, and they gravitate and they start to learn this shit, this is probably one of the first books that pop up. At least because there's other ones. The other ones that are like really, really important, then I would actually say check out. They're impossible to get your hands on without spending a huge amount of money. There's the I don't even want to mention them because again I'm leading people in a direction I think is unfruitful. And if you want to find this shit, you'll find it on your own. And I'm not going to give you many clues, but we'll talk about this book in particular, obviously. So I really got to talk about, because this is like the heart of the left-hand path or how they see themselves. And it goes on to a larger direction of the difference between Zeero Xiron and all these different folks. And I really, really want to state my case. I really want to go through this book here, flip through it, and then explain kind of bit by bit why I think certain ways aren't the way to go. And I'm going to get back with you in just a second. So now it has to be stressed that the Tree of Life, the Tree of Death, this whole thing, this isn't the end all be all of magic, right? There's so much more to magic than just this, okay? However, of all the devices that have ever existed in magic, this is the most powerful overall general key that holds so many metaphysical abstractions through so many different intuitions and different ways of looking at it. It's important. It is one of the most important bedrock things that you could ever learn. And you branch off from there. And then you become, becomes a pilgrimage. And you become a pioneer. You become a pioneer of things. But also understand that when you do become a pioneer, there's a difference between magical technique, magical experiment, etc., which is like a form of technology in and of itself. And then there's channeling things. Channeling things through strange devotional invocation, evocation methods and such. And really running with it and claiming that it's absolutely real, absolutely true. Satan really did appear to you and tell you how to make a certain sigil. Lilith really did appear and tell you this or that, or, they're working at your behest, and, it's a slippery slope of madness, to be certain. And those deeply, deeply into this path we're going to talk about are very much of this ilk. So, as I'm saying, as a magic practitioner and someone who teaches and talks about different magic techniques and such on this channel and abroad, it's important to really, really know this and that people are thinking like this and such and what you can gain from it. And I gave a million reasons already. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for 1 second. If something important, I guess it'll come back to me. So, okay, I'm opening this bad boy. Now, there's a huge list of contents where they go through everything. And, you get a really concise maps of both the Tree of Qliphoth and the Tree of Life as well. And it, says very specifically, the different paths and all that. So it starts immediately with like a little quote. It says, "With the trident of Lucifer in the black womb of Lilith, I ignite the ascending flame in my soul, and I open the shells to walk the path of the night side. In the name of the dragon, primal source of all creation, I invoke the forces of Sitra Ara to come to my temple and manifest." So, right off the bat, they're going for it. So, you get a keen introduction, the Asenith Mason, and it jumps right to Lilith. Now, this is a deviation from all the other literature on the Qliphoth, because I don't know when it started getting called this, but the 10th Sephiroth, the 10th Sephiroth, named Malkut, right, that we all know. On this map, they give it the name Lilith, but it's known as Nehemoth, or Nehema, normally. So I don't know when they just switched it up to Lilith. So the thing is that the thing that a lot of people miss, and it's one of the most important things, they fumble this design to begin with, because they think that since the first sphere that you have to approach is the reverse of Malkut, right? And they think that since it's being called Lilith, that is specifically what you call to. That's not true. The archdemon of this first Sephiroth is actually Nama, which is like the sister of Lilith, which is just a blank figure to me, because I can't. What's the difference? I don't know. One has red hair, one has black hair. They do the same shit. One is more earthbound, one is more airy. I believe that is the idea. That's why Nama, she's the lady of the gate, the guardian of all worldly riches and treasures, the seductress of souls, and the ruthless mistress of the night, who enters the dreams of man in the shape of a terrifying wraith or vampire. The initiate on the path of the dragon meets here the first guides and allies on the journey into the night side, and ignites the Luciferian flame, which through the tests and ordeals of the Qliphoth becomes the fiery pillar of ascent. Okay, yeah. Right. So they take Nehemoth and they rename it Lilith, and then they recontextualize what was previously explored about the Qliphoth in earlier days. Because let's just back it up before I continue. One of the main bedrock books, one of the first ones that anyone anywhere put out, that became like, I guess, the start of this modern obsession with the Qliphoth. Because the thing was like, again, if you don't know any better, witchcraft exploded in the 1950s. And then, the hippies and the acid movement and all this stuff, they all came about. New Age stuff started to mingle with this. The tarot cards go into general circulation because of public domain in 1971. Things rise, and then you get the Farrars, all these different things. But in the meantime, there's a dude named Kenneth Grant who writes a book called Night Side of Eden, and he's a disciple of Crowley. So he's basically doing the Qliphoth based on like Aleister Crowley's interpretation of the fucking Tree of Life, which is a big joke in and of itself. So you're taking Crowley's misdirected edgelord reinterpretation of the Kabbalah, which was altered from supposedly his guardian angel entering inside him and telling him all this wild information. You have this mutant heretic Tree of Life, and this guy Kenneth Grant is totally like invested in it, And then he turns around and does a Qliphotic like version basically of that. And even if he's doing it more on previous sources like Lurianic Kabbalah or different ideas going on, it's still heavily influenced by Crowley, like whatever's going on there. So understand that, like, I think that came out in the 1970s, if I'm correct. It's really hard to get a hold of. And that's kind of, I would say, about the time that all this obsession with the Qliphoth really restarted. Because, I mean, even though these are classically ancient ideas, the occult revival, occult revival didn't really start happening until 1854 onwards. It was sort of like a big dead zone for a few hundred years. And nobody was caring about magic. Everybody was like, oh, science and chemistry and reason and logic. And we're like post-Renaissance and fuck this old weird shit. Let's just fucking get real. And then, magic stayed underground and, kept going and going and going. But blah, 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 blah. So we get to this book, which is largely has a lot influenced by this Kenneth Grant book I talked about. So, the whole point is that in order to get with this, you have to get with Nama. That's what all these black magic kids, that's why they're fucking around with so many useless broken toys in so many ways. Nama is the fucking gateway. And they're always jumping to something else first. So I guess you heard it here on the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Secrets show. It's one of those trade secrets that we don't like to fucking give out, but, that's where it's at. So, yeah, blah, 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 blah. They talk about Nama. Gives you, incenses and oils. And so, talking about the Dark Tower is a ritual raising and focusing Qliphotic energy for magical empowerment. It is also a banishing method, which is specifically designed for use within the draconian current of the left-hand path, etc. ad infinitum. And then we get some, sigils, which are channeled. That somebody channeled after, talking to the voice in their head that said it was Nama. Okay. Next, you travel up to Gamaliel. And this is where Lilith should be placed. Because Gamaliel is the archdemon of the moon is Lilith. So, that's another key thing that everybody misses, the association of the moon, right? It's so key. This association of the subconscious and the Sephirot known as Yesod. Yesod is if you want to understand Lilith and what that's all about, you have to understand the inversion of Yesod. So that's another trade secret that I'm throwing out there. And I don't know if they even explicitly say these things. Okay, we get more sigils of made up stuff. Talking about Lilith and Samael and saying that they're, because Samael is essentially the male polarity. It's seen as like the male energy, and Lilith is seen as like the female energy, the receptive energy of the Qliphoth. I am not sure when that exactly started, because if I'm correct, Samael is another Sephirot or husk. I'm sorry, because they're called shells or husks. They're not Sephirot down here. Yeah, Samael is number 8, which would be Hod, which would represent the intellect, the mental acuity of an individual, very directly. So, man, what else to say about this? Because I've had you here for a while now, and I know you could be getting bored of this, but, there's just so much in here that is quote-unquote channeled, and I wouldn't completely believe anything channeled, but I mean, I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say, and la-di-da-deedle-dee. Thanks for stopping by the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show. I hope it was fun for you as it was for me, but I hope that some of what I said or some of my viewpoints make sense to you, you know, and just understand that, like, in the context of everything I talked about already in the lead up to this, you can see how it would be counterproductive where you have to take your own intuition and dress it up with all this wild dark mythology. Now, I love wild dark mythology in terms of fiction and comic books and horror movies and bedtime stories to scare the shit out of little kids, you know. I love all these ideas, but one person's understanding of a certain kind of energy isn't the same understanding of another person's sort of energy, you could say. And this is why you're going to find such little unification. Everybody, say, for instance, like Belial is prominent, and I just wanted to bring this up. Okay, so Belial is prominent in this whole morass. I forget how. He's in here somewhere. And yeah, everybody's always like, oh, Belial, the spirit of earth, he's the one to work for, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you're into this shit, it's Nama. You need to be going, oh, and I never fucking, goddamn it, got water all over the book. I guess I got cursed by someone, huh? But this is the point. Free magic secret, bro. If you are pissing around with Belial, trying to get, mastery of the earth realm and all this Qliphotic stuff, dude, it's Nama you need to be working with. And every single fucking one of these people that post videos about, the tree of Qliphoth and about all this left-hand path stuff, I never see people posting about Nama. Like, why is she the forgotten sister of Lilith? Why is she always playing second fiddle? If she's the first step, you know what I mean? There's no getting to Lilith without her. So, la-di-da-dee-dee. When you do get to Lilith, you realize that, I would consider this book part of the Lilith cult, because Lilith factors in this more heavily than, they're all interconnected. They all have their place. But, dude, this is like an overriding Lilith cult. The Lilith cult's at least been adopted and assimilated into a larger path-working cult. A larger path-work cult. Because it blurs into devotional religion with every fucking, aspect going on in this thing. And it's such a gigantic pantheon.
Hey, a cigarette for $1?
I don't got anything. I'm sorry. Losing my train of thought. But what was Lilith to begin with? It was a wind demon that killed children. And then the alien queen and aliens with its hive just lays eggs and the eggs that hatch are face hugger sex demons. Whoop-de-doo. That's really where I want to hang out with. Why do you want to hang out with that, dude? Why? Why would you ever want to bang an incubus or succubus? Why would you ever want to make out with one of them things? It's so gross, dude. Thanks for stopping by the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show. I do hope you had a good time. Yada da, and here's a hot rockin' outro just for you.